Alrighty, it is Monday, May 11th at 4 p.m. We are starting our council retreat. Counselor Butler will not be here today. Counselor Berger will be late, and I don't think Counselor Janice will be here for the retreat either, but we will see him later for the regular council meeting. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Thank you, everybody, for being here for the council retreat. I've really been looking forward to an opportunity to get everybody's opinions and feedback and comments all in one place so that we can set our priorities for the next couple years so that staff can work on the budget to help reflect those priorities. Our facilitators today will be Barb Hannah. Everybody knows everybody here. So Barb Hannah with marketing and outreach, communications. Sue Hagner, our finance director, and then Emily Stednick, our HR director. And today's agenda, it feels like there's a lot to do in a very short amount of time. And so I will kind of be acting as I'm going to try and be pretty hard focused about what we accomplished today and try and keep time and try and keep everybody on track. So if I snap, it's not, I'm not snapping at you. I'm snapping with you because we're all here trying to stay on the same time count, I guess you could say. Let's see. So we are here today to talk about our priorities for 27 and beyond. I think it was last year, the year before that, we worked with a facilitator, Dave Mercier, to get some priorities. But then I don't think we ever really took the next step of like really solidifying them. It always kind of felt like a draft document. So today the goal is to have a final priority goals or final list of priorities that we can work on for the next couple of years at least. Sorry, just going through my talking points. And let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I think I've gone through them all. One other note, because we'll be talking about it a little bit later, this big guy right here will be kind of using that as like a superficial like base document to help steer priorities and ideas, not having to reinvent the wheel, just kind of doing our best with what we've got. And I think that is it from me. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Pete. And thank you so much to our facilitators for taking the time out of their busy schedules to help us work on this. I'll introduce them a little bit. They've taken some time, a lot of time to work on facilitating and learning how to do that really well. And they have been facilitators at council retreats in the past, and I've really loved working with them. So I'm just very happy to be working with them again today. Thanks.
Thanks, Mayor. Okay, so just a few things before we dive into kind of the meat of the agenda. We have up here rules of engagement, and these were sourced from the survey that Rachel sent out to council on what work do we want to do as this retreat and what are some guidelines going into it. So there were quite a few that were repeat comments, which is great to see. But up here you'll see follow the fundamentals of Robert's rules and that everyone gets a chance to speak on a topic. So really wanting to hear from everyone on things. Come with humility and an open mind. Disagreement is okay, as we all represent residents who have diverse viewpoints. We are all on the same team. Council is one body, so you all bring diverse perspectives and opinions, but at the end of the day, there will be one council plan. And make use of the parking lot as needed. So things that come up today that may be important, but perhaps not relevant to this conversation, we can note here for future council discussion. So any additional rules of engagement, anything, first of all, that you want to change or cut out or add to the rules?
Looks good to me.
There were also several comments in there like, we work great together as a team. We don't need to have additional rules. So I think that, this talks about kind of the health of the council overall. But if everybody feels okay with those, kind of a thumbs up on our rules of engagement. And then that's something that, we can all kind of hold each other accountable on, right? To make sure that we're following within those rules. And the parking lot. Great. Okay, then to kick off, we have an icebreaker, and this was sent out in advance. So hopefully people had some time to kind of think through these questions, but would love to hear from you on what motivated you to serve on City Council and what's one part of the role that challenges you. So if anybody wants to go first and speak on that.
I'll kick it off. So what motivated me, I have always been low income, and I always thought that, why isn't there like a low income voice on council? And so I thought I could be that voice, and never thought that I would ever be appointed to council, but here I am 5 years later, and so happy to still be able to bring that low income voice to the table. Just because growing up thinking about government and thinking about how it always kind of felt like rich guys, that are well off and retired, and that's not everybody that lives in the community. So I thought it was a great opportunity to bring that low income voice to the table. One part of the role that challenges me, I actually have two. One of them is when, and I think it's only happened a couple times, but it really frustrates me, is when we make a decision as a unit and then we end up changing that decision later on. And I think it really makes us look unprofessional, and it makes us look kind of flip-floppy and not committed. And that's just my opinion. But it's something that I just really, really challenges me. The other thing that challenges me is when we have, and this is hard to say, I'm trying to be really brave, you guys, is when we have citizens that come talk to us, but it's about topics that they are not educated on or they have misinformation about, and they choose to stay uneducated and they choose to stay misinformed. And that, I think, has been a challenge for me the entire time of being on council. That's the biggest challenge for me. And so I think it really helped really determine for me that being a public servant is more about educating and more about public service than, or customer service. Public service is about customer service, really, and educating. And so those are my biggest challenges.
What motivated me was I've lived here all my life. I wanted to give back. People that are, except for Rachel and Brandon, have not lived here all their lives. And I've lived here through a lot of changes in the city, and working up for the city that was one of my challenges, is how to break away from not being a city employee and being a council person, and sometimes just keeping my mouth shut. And it's very hard to do when people are saying things that are incorrect and I can't correct them. So that's about all.
Thanks, Pete.
Somebody actually asked me to put in my name for when it was an appointment, and it hadn't been on my radar initially because I'd been living outside the Esquimalt city limits, and it was like, wait a minute, yeah, I can do that. And living right downtown has been so interesting that I really wanted to see kind of what was going on behind the scenes. And it speaks to what both of you are saying, in that I love being able to hear staff reports and understand how things actually are done, how things actually happen, because then it makes it so much easier when somebody asks you about it to go, oh, well, Just today I saw something saying, does anybody know what all the colored flags are all along Washington? I keep asking, but nobody seems to know. And several people jumped in and said, oh, it's for these different things. And I think there's a lot of, fear and resistance to change. And I think the more that we are responsive to the community and helping get things like the fact sheets from staff and educate and help smooth those anxieties and fears and hopefully build the trust that we really are representative of everybody. And, sometimes there are very intense small groups that will be quite reactive. But what I also see to balance that out is everything that we get that's also thanking the city and praising staff and being appreciative of what we're building here. So that's kind of keeps me going forward.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, all of you. This is one of my favorite parts about the retreat is just to get to know each other better. So for me, what motivated me, I've participated in student government when I was young. I did the student government all through my university years. And I've always felt called to serve my fellow humans in that way, is just to be showing up and trying to help facilitate and figure how things go forward and be filling that need. And I took after I was done with PLU, my university time, I went out into the world and took on building a career and a family and life, and had so many amazing opportunities, and then found myself here in Sequim as I was again following the wave of my family here, and then became so just involved with the community when they were going through such an interesting time. And just, again, showing up, because for me, democracy, civic engagement, those are some of my core values, and they're very, very important to me. So I really feel strongly about showing up to support those efforts in my community. And after I'm really glad that I was able to step up in that time. And then I went back to, supporting my family and working. And then in the spring of 2023, some community members approached me and said, we really, really believe that you would be a great city councilor. And I was truly humbled and honored by their request, and dove head in to the process. And I just have so much appreciation and respect for elected officials everywhere now, having gone through that. It's amazing. And so I truly just motivated to keep showing up to support the structures of our democracy and our government here. So thank you thank you, community, for your support. So one part of the role that is challenging to me, and I don't remember, I think it might have been Chapman or Theringer, but at the beginning when I was first getting into this, talking to them about their experiences as elected officials and how what was challenging for them. And I don't remember who said it, but they said, well, you're going to find that you're going to be a 1/4 inch deep and a mile high on everything. And for me, that can be stressful. But you just rehearse I don't have the specifics on that situation right this minute, but I will research it and get back to you. And there's so many great resources to us as city councilors. Another statement that will stand out for me is when I went to my first AWC training, that another councilor in one of the breakout sessions said, I've served in another state, and I'm completely blown away by the quality of the AWC's training and support and resources for councilors. So I've lived here in Washington State my whole life, except for 3 years while I was in Oregon. And I just it just brings me a lot of pride. So thank you so much. Appreciate this.
Thanks, Arvin.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your sharing on that. And great idea, Rachel, as an icebreaker. Okay, we are going to jump into the document that Rachel referenced before, but I think first we'll have Sue kind of go over our annual cycles as a city, just to remind everyone kind of where we are and where we fall.
Yeah, and just to put your mind at ease, this is one of 4 slides. There's only
for the whole retreat.
For the whole retreat. So obviously, we want to try and have the council retreat early in the year. April or May are kind of the latest that we'd like to have these retreats and get your feedback and input on your priorities, because right now we are in May, and Becky and I are building out the bones of our budget and our budget book right now, getting the back end systems all set up and ready to go. We've got long-term planning for our capital improvement plan that is going through tons of review with our public works folks. Reassessing our capital projects, and again, addressing sort of the infrastructure concerns that anybody might have. We really try and start doing some long-term planning, just looking out beyond just the immediate future, just beyond 2026. What do we really want to start thinking about doing? This month, we're also working with HR and IT to figure out what capital projects our IT might need to help support. We're working with human resources to figure out what our staffing levels need to be, or if we need to move and juggle and switch people around, or if we need to not fill any open positions. So we really take a close look this time of year at what our staffing and project needs are, and just start girding our loins for getting those numbers in the 2026 budget. June is when we actually go into our pretty robust budget software, Questica, and that is where we do a line-by-line entry of all of our wants and needs and hopes and desires, and that's where we address your council priorities in the next budget. And then we typically by July, we want to make sure that we've got balanced operational funds, we've got money for our capital projects, and we're tying a bow on those numbers with the city manager's buy-off in July. And that's also that we can prepare the book during August for delivery of the book to you in September. So that's how this whole process fits in with a very, very important part of your job, which is the budget for the following year. So any questions?
So just to reiterate that, the work you do today will be fed into the budget for 27. So these will be 27 and beyond goals.
Thanks.
And then Matt, while you come up, maybe just, again, Rachel mentioned before, this work was done a couple of years ago. Staff and council have been working hard to address those things. We heard from council earlier that we're close, but just need some updates. So we're not wanting to totally reinvent the wheel, but just clarify and streamline. Maybe I'm stealing your speech here, Matt, but clarify and streamline this document to have clearer goals for 27 beyond.
Thank you. Perfect. You hear it's not death by PowerPoint today, so 4 slides is all. I'm going to sit and talk so I can show you the document that I think you all had in your packet, because I want to refer to this a lot. You've seen the schematic that the city has used a lot that describes the 3 branches of government, and you all are elected and your policy. And I'm more operations, or the rest of the city staff is operations. We implement policy and operationalize it, and then we have a judicial branch which we outsource to and pay for. So so that's the different branches. You all, this retreat is really several years ago when you met, you did the far left column. And if this is remedial, we can move faster. But you basically created these black goals that we colored in black font. As soon as you were done doing that, we scheduled a senior management retreat to discuss and look at and do a deep dive on what policies and goals you were interested in. And we created then the blue, what can the city staff do to help accomplish your goals? And not only did we say, well, we could do this, but you know what? Some of this they could do as well. It's not really ours to do, but so we created the blue column, the third one over, and we created the green at our retreat for the city, blue, and for you, green. And so now as we start another retreat with you, we wanted to let you know how did we do with those goals. And that's the far right side, which is the purple. And I'm not going to sit and read them all, but around every one of your goals are all of the accomplishments that we together, staff and council, did around each one of your goals. So it not only is it nice to know how your retreat ties into the budget cycle and the sequence that Sue just talked about, but it's also worthwhile knowing the sequence that comes after this relative to how do we accomplish your goals. And that is, we will work really hard as a senior management team to try to put some meat on the bones that you give us here today. And we'll come back to you and get your feedback on whatever we come up with on how to operationalize what you come up with. Does that make sense? It's really I was going to take a few minutes. I've highlighted some really high level, great points, but they're all in there. Every one of the goals has a long list of accomplishments, and they're significant and they're big. Comp plan is all the way through them, but so is so many other things that you were interested in accomplishing, and you've done it, or we've done it together. Any questions with this document or how it flows hereafter downstream? Yes.
So are we looking at updating this document to read like 2026 through 2027 up at the top and update it? And
well, that's what this group's going to do, but that's the concept. Is you'll work on the blacks, and then we will, and they've got a whole way for you to do that, and they'll guide you through. I don't want to take their thunder, but that's what you're here for, is to look at, do you want to change those? Do you want to, take them off, put them on, expand them, whatever. I'll leave that to the moderators and you to guide that conversation. And then we will, no matter what you do with creating your own new goals or keeping them the same, whatever you come up with goals, we will definitely follow up with a plan as a city staff to ensure that we operationalize those, have a path. It's just nice to know that it's not going to fall between the cracks. Yes, we'll put it on the wall for you to refer to, and some people love it that, we make a poster of whatever your goals are, but it's really, where does the rubber hit the ground, and how do you get forward motion and know that you've actually got traction out of what you've do today? So that's all of it.
And I guess I would say too that this, to me, this is like a working document, and I'd like to see us today build from this and refine this so that we can make, I don't know if you guys remember Barb had made a very nice image of the council priorities a couple of years ago, where it was like, I think it was just for quality over quantity, in my opinion, right? And so my goal is to use something like this to refine what our priorities are and kind of work toward that kind of overarching image. Does that make sense? Okay. But I really love that we have this.
Yeah, it's been a nice template and model for us to use.
Yeah.
So thank you. I'll be here to listen.
Thanks. And then I think too, Matt referenced the comp plan is referenced to, this document was created 2 years ago at the council retreat. Last year, Carla, our DCED director, worked through the council retreat going over our comprehensive plan, just knowing what a massive opportunity that is for the city and for this council to be sitting while we're doing the comprehensive plan review. So you'll notice over here to your purple is the SQUIM plan description and vision statement, and then also our guiding community principles. These are in draft form right now. They've gone through the Planning Commission, right? And soon will come to council for final adoption. But it's some kind of inspiration for you or some context for the last 2 years, the work that has been done. Carla's also here available to dive deeper into anything or clarify or any questions you may have with kind of the comp plan thread that goes through our last several years of strategic planning. So just to draw your attention there, and we can move that poster closer too if we need to.
And I will say too that, sorry if I can look at Carla, the one we did last year with when it was like most comprehensive plan, I think that was so beneficial for us, like to really learn how impactful the comprehensive plan is and all the amount of work that goes into that. And so I guess the best way that I visualize it is like a three-legged stool, right? You have the comp plan and you have the policy and then you have operations all kind of working together to move forward in the same direction. So that was really helpful for me last year.
That's a really great point, Rachel. Thank you. So we're not going to go through the 2024-2025 work plan and accomplishments in detail, but the feedback we did get is, hey, we don't want a bunch of new council goals. We want to refine, clean up, maybe even delete or remove some things that have already been accomplished, or there's been a significant amount of work done on those accomplishments, or maybe we've got some redundancy and we can consolidate a couple of goals, and that maybe we'll leave here with 3 and 5. Originally, these were kind of supposed to be verbalized as goals, but as you can see, they're kind of high level, not principles, but sort of themes of concern or themes of that you wanted to continue. And what we'd like to do, so these are what you see on the screen right there. Those are all of the black words that you see here in the far left-hand corner. Those were all the words that council had agreed upon that they wanted to see as reflected as priorities for the next couple of years. So we want to update that for 2026, 2027, and beyond. But I think just looking at some of these words, for example, unchecked growth and infrastructure needs to catch up with growth, you've got some redundancy there in your humble staff's opinion. But what we would like to do is take the words that we've got up on the screen, and I'd like you to provide some feedback for what would be a replacement or what would be another way to say it. What we'll do is Emily is going to scribe as we kind of go. And once you guys agree on what you'd like to see in the black words, she will go ahead and make those changes to the live document so you can see what it looks like, and we can all come to consensus on what you'd like to have as your priorities for the next couple of years.
And I think if I could, Sue, just jump in
Yes.
on if you'll see your agenda, this is the priority action areas, and then there will be time later that we dig kind of deeper into actionable policy goals. So this isn't it, but if there's something here like that we want to start, stop, continue, and then we'll dig deeper kind of in a facilitated conversation later.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so these are like sort of priority areas, and then we'll get more actionable policy goals in an exercise that Barb Hannah is going to help run us through. Okay, so any particular comments? Just start talking to each other and go ahead, Pete.
I do have a question for you and the other staff. What do you think that's redundant about 1 and 8? Just so I understand.
They're both related to growth. So you could have a priority just related to growth / infrastructure. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carla. Oh, we got Carla.
Yeah, it's
If I may.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you threw it out like what your comments are, but I thought maybe if I may, if it's okay, I could give you a little context between 1, 3, and 8, with a little bit of 7 thrown in there and maybe 5. But I think you saw on the worksheet that there was a number of touch points for the comprehensive plan. And so I just thought I would provide you again some overarching comments that might be helpful and as you are going through your retreat. And then again, I'm here to kind of help with any questions that you might have. But I do want to note that the comprehensive plan, while it is focused on land use, does touch just about everything in some type of form for city operations. And so for the ones that are on the screen for infrastructure and unchecked growth, the way those two intersect is that we will be through the comprehensive plan effort this year, doing a more robust capital facility plan than the city's ever done in the past. And what that's going to do is actually give you a really great roadmap and blueprint for how infrastructure is catching up to or already has caught up to growth, and how we're going to plan for infrastructure so that we do not have unchecked growth. And so in unchecked growth, and that word unchecked has a little bit of a value statement to it. And so, you know, that might mean something different to the council 2 years ago than it means to you today. But speaking just about infrastructure, we will have a capital facility plan. I just gave a met with the Public Works Department last week to talk about the capital facility plan. They've been partners with me on developing it. The capital facility plan will have a 20-year plan of the infrastructure needs based on our growth projections and a 6-year prioritization that will be part of your budget. So it loops the comp plan capital facility infrastructure needs to your annual budget. So that's one thing that the comp plan is already doing for you. And it's also using the functional plans or the master plans that the Public Works Department does for water, for sewer, for transportation, for parks. So they all get incorporated into the comprehensive plan. So the comp plan, if you think about it, is like the clearinghouse for all the infrastructure identification needs, and then they get through the budget process, and then Public Works, goes out and then does the construction for it. So that's the one piece on infrastructure. I guess I'll leave it with that. There is a climate change section. If climate change is something that you're still interested in, there is a climate chapter. So if you have any questions about that, I can speak about that. So as you've probably heard from me over the last year, the state legislature really doubled down on jurisdictions dealing with housing. And I just want to put that reminder out that I think you all know, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Like, we do not have to provide the housing. We're not housing providers. But what our obligation is under the state law is to ensure that there's land availability, where barriers are removed, and land is zoned appropriately for various types of housing that can help accommodate people at different income levels. So again, we're not housing providers. We partner with nonprofit organizations or housing authorities as appropriate, and our obligation is to ensure that the land is available. We have there was a lot of work on that. You know, Leland Consulting, they came before you a couple of times. They were our consultants on the housing components of it. I did provide our housing package to the Department of Commerce in December. They gave us a big thumbs up. So we're meeting the state requirements. Okay, that aside, we also are meeting what our local, what our desires are. So again, if you want to talk about housing, I'm happy to engage in that too, on kind of what the housing chapter looks like in the comprehensive plan as well. So thank you for letting me kind of give you that kind of framework for the comp plan.
Absolutely.
And
Thank
I
you,
think
Carla.
I'm just going to let you hold on to that microphone, Carla, because a lot of this relates to work that's being done. So you might combine unchecked growth and infrastructure needs to catch up with growth as something related to the comprehensive plans, capital facilities plan. Right. So there's a way to do some consolidation, and welcome, Kelly. Those are my notes. Let me grab those. Here's your, so you've got your 2025 work plan in front of you with the accomplishments. These were your goals. These were council's activities, staff's activities, and these are the accomplishments between council and staff to address those things. And what we're doing right now, Kelly, just to bring you up to speed, is we're addressing the black. We're going to either stop, start, or continue some of these things and maybe even consolidate some of the verbs. Emily's going to do some cleaning up of those actual words as you guys kind of throw out ideas. So,
All right.
anybody want to start?
Absolutely. So I, in my humble opinion, 1 and 8 are very similar to me. So I just ended up saying infrastructure has always been a top priority for me. And when I think infrastructure, I think sidewalks and pipes. Those are top priorities for me.
So is it infrastructure planning? Is it just
like really catching up with what we need, like how some streets don't have sidewalks, right? So like that's kind of a priority for me so people can walk safely. Another priority for me is knowing how old some of our pipes are and being really concerned with the longevity of them and how soon they need to be replaced.
And if Paul Busich was here, he would be able to tell you that they are in the process of doing those inventories throughout the city.
Yeah, so that's a big priority for me is infrastructure. Okay. So I would take 8 off the list. I would combine, I'm going to talk kind of slow just in case Emily needs more.
Yeah, and I'm realizing I want to make sure that council's all good with these decisions before I change them. I mean, this is obviously we can continue to work on this document.
Ongoing work.
And you all have the black words in front of you, so we can always go back. Okay, thanks for letting me talk that through.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a thought. Maybe it would make sense to have before you start changing that slide, maybe undo all the changes, duplicate that slide so we can see the first version and then.
Great idea.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Thanks, Harmony.
Yeah.
So sweet. This might be easier to take your first one, which I agree in combining those and what to call it those. It maybe the goal is infrastructure maintenance consistent with growth.
That sounds good.
Something like that. It's not perfect, but
Mostly it's maintenance is going to happen no matter what. It's usually updating and improving, not just with growth, with everyday usage, right? Does that make sense?
So infrastructure improvements.
Improvements. That's a good word, I guess.
like proactive
Consistent
infrastructure.
with growth.
I like what you were talking about. I don't remember if it was in agenda planning or whatever, but proactive things like if you're going to dig a trench, go ahead and lay some conduit or pipe down in there for future, running of whether it be fiber equipment, water, whatever. But thinking about proactively planning for infrastructure improvements.
I feel like I'm going to get into.
I'm wondering if that's more operational side. In my head, that's more operational. I don't know 100% sure if it is.
I don't know if the policy could be like, if you're opening a road up to replace a road, you replace everything underground and add. I don't know if that could be, if that's more
Well, and it would be determined by like, what if half the pipe needs improvement, but the other half was updated so like more recently. So I think it would maybe be a case by case basis. And I think that's why I was trying to make it more generalized.
What about something like just proactive planning for infrastructure improvements?
There we go.
Proactive planning for infrastructure improvements.
Olé.
As we got thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe toss in the word data driven. I don't know.
And just remember, these are like the high level priority areas, and then our goals will still come.
Yeah.
Yep. It is.
Okay.
Okay.
If I may, I just wanted to note that the comp plan has a couple goals that are going to fit into these buckets too. So if you want to tie your goal to like the comp plan goals, because because we have like protect public health, safety, and welfare of residents while enhancing the quality of life in Sequim through planned and proactive provision of public facilities. So that's one goal. Another goal is establish capital facility level of service standards in order to determine long-term capital facility and funding requirements. So
Mhm.
again, there's going to be,
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't do yours, but there
Yeah.
are going to be goals on capital facilities in the comp plan as well.
Yeah. And I think just personal opinion is that the policy side has their priorities, and it would be great if they connect to the comp plan ones, but not necessarily exactly the same.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So if we're keeping these at the 30,000 foot level, then
Mm-hmm.
the comp plan and everything the comp plan is achieving will fill in under the blue column.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Any other suggestion? Oh, go ahead, Pop. What was that? Pete? Okay. Okay. Any other cleanup redundancies we can get rid of?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was just
Rachel.
working on
These
finishing
look
up
like-
number one. So I would love to consolidate 2 and 7 to just be, I don't know the exact wording yet, but just housing. Like, it's still a housing crisis, and it's still something that I would like to prioritize where we are able to. Like, there's a lot of things we can't do, right? But for the things that we can do, I would like to add it to or consolidate it to just, so I don't know what to word it as. Like,
Do you want to make policy progress towards addressing lack of something like that?
maybe, I mean, in this moment, I would just call it housing. Just because really, like, the problem to me, and I'm really simplifying it, right? The problem to me is that there's not enough housing, and the housing we do have is too expensive, right? And there's not a whole lot that we can do about that. But we can still like work with legislators to try and address those kinds of things. So like there are things we can do. And the comp plan is trying to address some of those things to like facilitate more housing.
What about implement policy to address lack of housing? It's like an action or. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just
Yes.
getting to themes.
Yeah.
Themes.
That's hard.
So as was discussed, that the comp plan will have space set out for designated for affordable housing, but maybe we can be working towards a goal of researching outside of the box ways to incentivize developers to want to come in and build things. I mean, we keep focusing on single family homes too, but maybe we need apartment complexes that's not 55 and over. That's a mix of, low income and workforce, because
And that's another thing that I think about a lot is like, we don't just need we need a whole diverse range of different housing types. And so that's why I don't want it to be affordable housing, but yeah, Carla, diverse housing.
What about, I mean, and this doesn't have to be the final thing. So if we just said diverse housing options and know we want to have some goal related to housing, and then we can always come back and like clean up those words, but rather than trying to
wordsmith everything.
Wordsmith is something really specific. Just
I liked your word.
Diverse housing options. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good word for a priority. Those are good words for a priority.
Okay. And we can come back to it later. Still trying to be cognizant of time.
Yeah, let's see. We've got 4:45. I think are we doing okay on time? Okay. All right.
And I can just like go through really quick. So I would just remove comprehensive plan update because we're working on that actively.
Okay.
Is everybody okay with? Okay. Personally, I would take off capitalize on strengths because that feels really abstract for
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
I'm okay with that. I didn't quite understand it myself either, but I think that Matt does a great job of coming out with recognizing staff, bringing them forward to give presentation at council, building the fact sheets, making the announcements in newsletters.
Like it feels
something they already do.
Yeah. Yeah.
does fit under strengths, and somehow it got put into the goal or the priority. But
So we're kind of turning a SWOT
I think-
analysis into a council priority.
yeah, it didn't really fit under this model. It was a SWOT bullet point.
Okay. The next one, I would change climate change to sustainability, just as an
As a
overarching theme. Priority.
Okay.
And then,
Everybody okay with that?
okay.
I disagree. I think we need to leave the word climate change exactly where it is. I would say build on it. Sustainability to address climate change. That's my 2 cents.
How about, okay, are you okay with those words? Sustainability efforts to address climate change? Are you okay with that? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate that. But I'm also here. I'm just putting putting my 2 cents out there.
No, that's great. We want to hear from everybody, right?
Yeah. What other counselors have thoughts on that?
I disagree, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. Just because climate, I think, I see not as, how am I trying to explain this? It's processing.
Well, why don't we go ahead and just eliminate number 5 for right now? Since that's kind of lumped into 3.
Because like climate change is the thing to address, but sustainability efforts are what we prioritize. Does that make sense? I don't know.
We'll have time
Yeah, we can
to wordsmith. I think we got the general
Yeah.
sort of overarching priority there.
Yeah.
Kelly was about to make a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
just think
Ingham.
maybe climate change makes it a little too narrow on the sustainability.
Oh, too narrow.
Yeah. Like it's a little too focused on sustainability and resiliency, not just for climate change.
But for example, emergency management?
Sure.
Is that maybe something you were, okay,
No,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
right?
kind of how I see it, where it's like, I guess my thought process too was that the sustainability is farther reaching. Like it doesn't only
Yeah.
deal with climate change, but it also deals with ways that we address certain things, maybe as a way to say it.
We're a unique community. Go ahead.
Like I was just gonna say, like sustainability could also be like fiscal,
Yeah.
like being smart with money,
Yeah.
right? Or being smart. I don't know.
Like longevity. Like
And that's why I feel strongly that I think the original or the intent here is to acknowledge that we are in a place that doesn't receive, that our natural environment is a huge part of what we are all needing to be mindful of as we are stewards of this community's resources. I think that that's a very, very important distinction, that sustainability, the word, can be used in so many different arenas. And we as a city are in a very good position. We have a lot of done a lot of forward thinking planning in terms of being able to access natural resources to support our community and growth. But we are adjacent to communities that are, and in not, I think it's important for us to think, to be cognizant of what we have organized here in Sequim city limits. But as a community, as a region, we are going to be facing some very difficult natural resource situations in the future. The snowpack is only at 22% of normal up on the mountain, and that's going to affect the Dungeness River. That affects our the tourism. That affects everything. So I feel that I feel very strongly that we need to maintain some maintain vigilance about our natural resources in our goals as a council, because it's going to be a topic that is very important to our community, and we need to make sure that we are representing their concerns with our goals as well.
So could we put not just sustainability efforts to address a myriad of sustainability, basically sustainability options are included in our decision making. Sustainability enters our decision making in everything we do, something to that effect.
Yeah, and I'm not.
No.
I don't like that one. I like what's up there. And in an effort of time.
Yeah, we
we're
should be
running kinda
breaking for
behind.
dinner
Yeah.
right now.
And so I'll make it really quick and say I'm kind of on the fence about the state legislative part, just because the things we need in regards to state legislation feels like a constant uphill battle because we're such a rural area, which is great, but also unfortunate when it comes to government. And I feel like we make more headway when it comes to, it's like a case by case basis. So like the bypass, like we're making pretty good headway with that because it's like one specific project. But if we were talking about like RCWs that may or may not positively, like if we, like how would there's an RCW about we cannot cap rent, like it's illegal to do that. Like something like that would be.
I think what you're trying to say is that it is a priority of council to be actively engaged
Yes.
in
Fabulous.
state legislative activities.
Thank you.
It just needs to get reworded because the goal is not adverse state legislative action. It needs to just be reworded.
Yeah. So is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Do we got thumbs up? Okay, so we've hit the mark. We've got 4. Is there, let's just break for dinner. Grab your dinner real quick. Barb, do you want to introduce the next action thing or? Yeah.
Whether or not there's anything missing from the list before you start working on turning these
I
into
do
goals.
have something, I'm not sure what to call it or if it would be a subset of any of these, but I was considering a quality of life issue as far as maintaining green spaces, public safety, accessibility, diversity.
Oh.
Things under quality of life, but
Quality
I'm
of
just
life
going to
would be
spitball
the
that and then
category.
maybe we can think about it while we're getting dinner because I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just let's
Quality of
just
life is
put
good,
that
I
up
think.
there and you guys can think about it. Barb is going to be running our next exercise.
So this is going to be a working dinner, sorry, but Heather has dinner set up in the break room. Is that correct? Or
It's set up in the hall, just
okay. So if you want to go grab your dinner and come back, then I'll let you know what we would like for you to be working on while you're
you
bless you.
eat.
while you're having your dinner.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Barb.
Yep.
Yeah.
in your great work so far is coming up with basically 5 broad categories, right? Of infrastructure, housing, sustainability / climate change. I'd put that based on your conversations, legislative activities and quality of life. Does that sound like a reasonable summary? Okay, so what we would like to do is take these categories, which is kind of where we felt like we ended up at the last retreat from 2 years ago, and work on more actionable goals that will help give us as staff and you as council some clearer guidance on actions that can move those forward. Okay, so jump in if I'm not making sense here. You've all heard the term SMART goals. I don't know that we think that we need to get to that level today. That's part of what we will do with our action plan. But what I would like to see is for you to start looking at writing goals that basically tell us where you want to be. Like, where do you want to go with this category? So I've got a couple of examples if you want to hear them, but I don't want to guide you too much. So climate change being one of the categories, what you should be thinking about is what can we as a city accomplish? Obviously, we'd all love to fix global climate change. We can't do that. So what can we do within our city? And one of the things that I came up with was reduce the city organization's carbon footprint. Right? We operate a whole bunch of things. We can do that sustainably and responsibly, or we cannot. And prioritizing that helps guide our staff in decision making and you in what you approve, what you set policies on. Does that make sense? So that's where we want to go. It's like, what are we trying to achieve by listing this, and how we'll measure that? And like, how do we know that's successful? Like, if we did successfully reduce our carbon footprint and we can say that, then you've made progress in moving towards that goal. The other details, like who's responsible, what the timeline is, that's all what we'll work out in the finer details when we meet together as our senior management team, and then bring that back to you to make sure that we're all on track. So what we'd like for you to do, this is basically a 3-part process. Take a few minutes. You've got 5 categories. We'd like for you to each work on this individually to come up with your own, what would that goal statement be? And then once you've got your thoughts down on paper, we'd like you to divide up into small groups. We'll probably just naturally go Nicole and Harmony because you're bunched that way, and Rachel, Kelly, and Pete together. And then for those groups to get together, consolidate what you're talking about, try to come up with your option as a team, and then we'll look at those 2 options together and hopefully come up with one that you can all feel good about. That makes sense? I think what we're really, Rachel had referred to the wheel that we did a few years ago. And if that's where we want to go, it was kind of a category and then what that one statement goal is. And then from there will be lots of tasks and smaller goals that get developed. So again, think about like, what does that mean? Like what can we affect, and where will you feel successful in that, in moving the needle? Okay, so we're going to give you some time to work on your own while you eat dinner. We are running just a little bit behind schedule, so think fast.
When walking here.
Oh, yep.
Round one of a three-part process. Okay, everybody good to move on?
Yes.
Okay, you
I
can
am.
still keep eating. So, like I said, what we'd like to do in the next phase, we wanted you to all have a chance to get your thoughts down on paper and make sure that, you're kind of clear on what your ambitions are here. But we'd like you to work together in small groups. So Rachel, Pete, Kelly, Nicole, and Harmony, if you would like to get together and talk through, what your thoughts are. And then our goal is to have you come up with your one goal statement for each of those categories, put it on a sentence strip. And then we've got around the room here, those broad categories that that you all identified. We're going to put up the sentence strips, and then the final exercise will be coming back and as a group and hoping to get you to consensus on one of those or a combination, but because you're all going to have different words that you put down. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. We've got about 10 minutes. Just trying to keep us on schedule here.
Okay.
sorry about that, to look at what you've done in your individual groups and then hopefully come up with a final statement that you're all comfortable with. And Emily is going to be on the computer, basically, drafting that as you all are coming up with it.
The question is would water rights / water be under sustainable or can it be in its own?
I'd say sustainability. Yeah.
Pete's looking at me, so that's the only reason why I'm taking the microphone, like he wants me to give an answer. So your question was whether it should be under infrastructure or under sustainability?
Yes, or by itself, because it is a big topic.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to that, right? Because it is part of the sustainability considerations. It is part of the infrastructure considerations. It, you know, I could see it being a subset of each one of those, or as you mentioned, on as a standalone. So I guess my question back to you is that if you had it as a standalone, then what would your policy goals be? Because if you don't necessarily have any policy goals that support that as a standalone, then maybe it's better off to have it be a subset of one of your other goals.
I just know it's very, very important and very,
Without
very
a doubt.
complicated.
Yep.
It's more complicated than sustainability or infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very political.
Which, like I said, I personally could see it having a place under each one of those categories. But that's for you all to discuss.
Okay.
And I don't know, Pete, is that something that is part of the action plan when we are developing actual tasks that we will be tackling to accomplish these things?
I don't know. I just was kind of feeling out everybody on this.
Right.
I don't want it to complicate things, but it's a very, very important thing.
Yeah.
Which is why it's included in the scope of the executive white paper, the water paper that we're getting ready to pursue, and it's one of the committees of the executive task force is water rights. Is that what you were referring to before? Water rights.
Yes.
Yeah. So it will be part of our water strategic plan, master plan or whatever, and so. It's definitely a component along with reuse and all the other water subcommittees.
Okay.
Okay, so Emily is writing up your sentence strips, which might be a little bit easier to read, but they're much more colorful on this side of the room. So we don't have a whole lot of time left, but what we'd like to do in this next few minutes is try to wordsmith these a little bit and hopefully come up with one sentence that everyone is comfortable with, and everybody uses different words. So that's part of why we took on this process. So let's start with the first one, which is infrastructure. And we have one sentence. Proactive planning for improvements.
So when I was writing sentences down during individual time, I was thinking about this kind of graphic. I don't know if the community can see it on the camera back there, but it's the 5 bubbles, 5 overarching priorities. And then under each of those titles would be like a sentence of kind of like a mission statement,
right,
for each priority.
Kind of the overarching goal that,
yes. So if infrastructure would be the title of the bubble, then the mission statement would be proactive planning for improvements. So everybody can see what I'm thinking in my head.
Does anybody have anything that they want to change or add to that?
Yes, actually. So, me and Nicole over here, we're trying, this is definitely an exercise in being as swift as we can. So we were trying to consolidate our thoughts around number 1. And are still kind of just looking at what we both wrote down and trying to get there. But I think that both of us had some desire to have the word, to talk about leverage, how we're going to be leveraging technology. She's talking about an infrastructure dashboard. She wrote, our planning and infrastructure is optimized for swift permitting and approval. And approve infrastructure dashboard?
Yeah, separate thought.
Oh, and approval. Oh, I see. And my thought, my initial brainstorm there was we should be leveraging technology to make data-driven decisions. So I think that, I think we're kind of talking about the same thing, but we're still trying to figure out how to mush that into one sentence.
I mean, I'm almost struggling with if we need that item at all, just because these are all like operational things.
That's what I was going to
Capital improvement plan,
Yeah.
comprehensive plan. And so
But I think that those are really good notes for us to have as we are going into the next phase of this.
Yeah, the data. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay, because what we are looking for is that overall goal statement, right? So, and those items that you've listed are kind of sub-operational components of that. Does that feel right to everybody?
Yeah, they felt more operational to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that the way that you have worded that goal is actually almost verbatim what is in Mr. Hewish's operational goals for the 2026 budget. I remember writing those goals many times. So, but it's good breadcrumbs for staff.
Yeah, definitely we'll want, your notes will be really helpful. So everyone's okay with number one? Consensus, head nods, yes. Okay, so housing. There's 3 different notes here. Support variety of housing options, coordinate with developers, contractors, addressing changing demographics by incentivizing housing for all stages of life.
So still going with that bubble theme, with housing being the title, and then support variety of housing options being the kind of mission statement for that bubble. The coordinate with developers and contractors, I do support, but it also feels more like what the staff have been doing, like more operational, where the staff have been having those meetings, quarterly meetings. They really, really love those. So keeping that going, but that would be more of an operational retreat plan.
Brandon, you want to join or? You are. Does that sound right to everyone? And what do you think about the addressing changing demographics by incentivizing? Is that a similar thought?
now that I read it again, that was ours. It kind of sounds like we're incentivizing all stages, but maybe it needs to be something more about recognizing that there is a need for all stages and
Like number 3 feels
incentivizing options.
It feels more specific. So like if support variety of housing options is the overarching mission statement, a subset of that would be incentivizing. And so leaving number 1 would be my my vote.
Incentivizing seems like
Yeah, I agree.
we're paying them or cutting something off or.
So does support variety of housing, does that sound like the umbrella that you're looking for? And okay, I'm seeing yes. Please speak up if you disagree with anything on this. So sustainability/climate change, make a conscious effort to adapt to climate change, implement resiliency policies to plan for and mitigate the effects of climate change, natural disaster, and to conserve our natural resources.
So going with the bubble theme for ours, sustainability would be the bubble, and then make conscious efforts to adapt to climate change, I feel is like a good umbrella mission statement. I was also trying to go with something really concise, just so it's not so wordy, I guess.
So there was some discussion around this category of sustainability/climate change. If those are 2 different things, if they're one, let's start there. Is everyone okay with kind of the sustainability and climate change being combined?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, I'd like to see it just as sustainability.
I'm okay with that. And we wrote the lengthy sentence that I was just trying to capture in our mind, what we think falls under that. And that speaks to Pete's concern about water rights as well.
Yeah, sustainability kind of covers everything.
Okay, so we want to change 3 to just sustainability.
Yes.
Everyone okay with that?
For the record, I disagree. I think it's important to leave the word climate change right where it is.
Do we need a consensus? I think I heard yes. To have it as sustainability? Okay. 1, 2. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I don't have strong feelings as long as when we have subcategories that it addresses those other things.
Okay.
So when we are working on a plan for sustainability, an action plan under these categories, climate change needs to be certainly a part of that. Are you okay with that, Harmony?
Well, because the word sustainability can be so broad. So if we're talking in this particular issue about our natural world, then we should leave the word climate change right where it is. Because if it just pivots to the word sustainability, we could be talking about sustainable use of our financial resources, sustainable management of the staff, or this, that, or the other thing. Sustainability is such a broad term. But if this statement, if this goal is focused on our natural resources, we should be right up front and center with calling out exactly what it is. That is my strong opinion about this.
And
so if we change sustainability to say environmental sustainability, is that what the group is saying or no?
well, that's why I had the title as sustainability and then like the mission statement as make conscious efforts to adapt to climate change, because it has the focus in there in the mission statement part, so that sustainability can be left as just sustainability.
I think that in the interest of if in the future people choose to just print the top without the top bullet points without the secondary bullet points, if they're trying to be more concise in a future version of what our council goals or priorities are, then I think it's very important to, if we're going to remove the word climate change, to make the word sustainability very clear that it is natural resource focused. So then, yeah, I think a really great way to do that would be environmental sustainability or natural resource sustainability or whatever, if we're trying to move away from the word climate change. There we go.
And I guess my point is, like, I'm not trying to move away from the climate change part. I'm trying to make it an umbrella for, like, the title doesn't have to be so specific, right? The mission statement can be a little more specific, but also concise. So making conscious efforts to adapt to climate change can be a bunch of different things. And I don't necessarily agree with it having to be environmental sustainability. My goal is to help, like, make an effort to address the climate change issues. Is that making sense? So that was a way I thought could be a way to wordsmith it. Does that make sense? I'm trying to explain.
I'm just going to pop in with a 5-minute warning.
Thank you for the 5-minute warning. Wow. I'm just trying. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. If you would like, if you're, so in our prior list of stated goals, climate change was one of those goals. And I think that changing the stated goal from climate change to just sustainability is very, very confusing because it waters down the natural resource focus. So if we're going to be, I don't, if you want to address more sustainability issues, or excuse me, forward progress with our city, then because sustainability can be a brand or can be applied to so many different things. So
in an effort of time, I would really like to keep a sustainability and make the number one that mission statement under it. I've heard you, and it sounded like you were the only one that had that feedback. Is that the word I'm
I
looking
don't
for?
know if that's accurate. don't think we've heard from all the counselors around this table on that issue.
So Nicole had said no one way or the other. Yeah.
Can we vote on it? And then
Harmony is a good point.
Yeah.
And she mentioned, though, if somebody's just looking at the 5 bullet points, that sustainability is confusing because it could be attached to a variety of subjects. And so, I feel partial about the 3 things under there, climate change, natural disaster, and conservation. So unless we split these into 2 different things, it could fall under resiliency. But I'm also happy with going back to just climate change because that's clear as day.
Thank you. I agree. And it was on our prior list, and they've stated, and if we're trying to keep our list as distinct from, or as consistent with the first list, so that we're not making big changes to what our goals are, then and if our stated goal still is climate change, then why do we need to change what it's called? Or if we're going to change it, let's be really specific about it being focused on natural resources.
So we're really running out of time. Can
I make a suggestion? So if the category goes to climate change, and just hearing what Nicole just said, what if the bullet point was make conscious efforts to adapt to climate change, natural disasters, and conserve our natural resources? So you're hitting all of those bullet points. That makes it a little bit broader because natural disaster can be tied to climate change, although it's not always. And it gets the conservation part in there.
So is that like a subcategory? You got
That's the
sustainability, and then you have the other portions below it.
Well, you all have to decide whether or not you want to call it sustainability, environmental or natural sustainability, or climate change. So let's start there.
Okay.
What I was suggesting is a way to adapt and incorporate the different elements that have been presented.
And I guess if we did change like the number 3 title with the climate change, natural disaster, and conserving part, then I would change the title to resilience or resiliency.
Again, Madam Mayor, I hear you, and I appreciate your, it sounds like you are you want to keep these things as concise as possible, but I really feel strongly that the title of each item should very clearly delineate what exactly it's referring to. And in this case, number 3 is referring to natural resources. We should be as explicit as possible because, like sustainability, the word resiliency can mean so many different things.
And just piping in, we are at time. Does the group want to commit to 5 more minutes of time? That'll give you a 10-minute break before the council meeting.
Yeah, I would like to.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, let's
so
get
I
through
think to Kelly's point that this might be good to take a vote because you all have a voice in this. So I think the vote is those that would like to call it sustainability, please weigh in. So 4. Okay, so that's a majority. So it will stay sustainability. Is that how you want to put it? And then would you like to add the elements of natural disaster and conserve natural resources into that first bullet point? Seeing a no. Well, it's because Harmony and Nicole had called out natural disaster and conserve natural resources as part of the effort to basically address sustainability. Do you want to add that to the first bullet point or keep it simple and then we will take that into consideration as we are doing the action plan? Nicole?
Somebody combined them into a sentence that I thought was effective. It was just make conscious efforts to plan for and mitigate the effects of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think make a conscious effort to adapt to climate change, natural disaster and to conserve our natural
That
resources.
sounds good.
So it's a combination of those two words or two points, if you all are okay with that. Brandon says yes. Anybody have issues with that?
That's, yeah.
I
do a
agree
thumbs
with
up.
what Nicole just suggested.
Okay. Okay, great. Legislative activities. Stay engaged with legislative priorities, legislative engagement in support of city, county, AWC, and NOP lobbying groups.
Yeah, so just reiterating the bubble idea of the title and then the mission statement.
So Harmony, I see you shaking your head. Are you?
I'm sorry, Barb.
No, it's okay. That's what this discussion is for.
I very much think that our decision as a council, that the majority decision to change the title of number 3 is a huge mistake. I'm sorry. That is why I was shaking my head.
Okay.
We just pulled that second statement, number 2 under legislative activity, out of the original document because it was a descriptor underneath there and it sounded like it was pretty comprehensive.
Okay. So are those, does that get addressed in the action plan then of working with all those different groups in engaging with the legislative priorities? Is everyone all right with that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was trying to stay away from like the action parts and just trying to make it the umbrella.
All right. So number 5, quality of life. Improve adjacent. I'm not sure what this means. Quality of life, wordsmith. So quality of life initiatives to support green spaces, public safety, diversity, local education, economic growth and sense of community.
So I'll explain I was trying to think of a word because we had used improvements up top. And so I was trying to think of a word that was like improve, but not exactly like it. I was not having a good time being a human thesaurus. And then because if the title of the bubble is quality of life, I don't want that to be in the mission statement part. So I was just having a hard time addressing that.
Can you just remove quality of life from number 2 and use that?
Just support.
I like that.
I mean, even if it's like support. I think I have a different way of thinking about it than everybody else might.
So are those those are the broad categories? Does everyone feel comfortable with that? Green spaces, public safety, diversity.
I'd be concerned about the local education part just because of us and the school district are separate. And so I don't want people thinking that we're connected.
We thought about that. That was the question I asked. I said, is that our job or the school districts? And Harmony and I both pointed out that there's more than just K through 12 here. There's adult education, support for libraries, schools, community classes, all sorts of educational opportunities, just resources so that anybody who wants to has access to education.
Yeah, but that's not our job though.
Maybe the word instead of local could be lifelong education, because through the arts, through the different entities that use the various city properties, city council chambers to present to the community to do lifelong adult education. I think that we would be remiss in sharing that education is an important goal of our council. It's also, we were inspired by the guiding community principles of the comp plan as we were drafting that, and education is part of that list as well.
So can I make a suggestion based on that? A term that is often used is lifelong learning. That takes it away from the education as informal. It can take on many, many different modes. Okay, so support green spaces, public safety, diversity, lifelong learning, economic growth, and a sense of community. Is everybody good with that? He nods and thumbs up. Okay, great.
And you guys
So-
did it.
I might even want to add in arts, except that that's making that really long.
And arts. Oh, well, it's a short word. And it does contribute to many of those different
Put it in,
areas.
put it in. Support the arts.
Okay, so just so you guys have a break, but Barb, thank you so much. You did awesome. That was a tough one. I got a little hairy there, but we did it. You did it. We've got your 5 major categories. We've got basically your mission statements. The next thing to do is we will put this in a document because we don't have all council members here. We will bring this back to you for full council approval. And there's some visibility into what is important to council for our community. So we'll take this back to you for approval in a council meeting. And then the operational work starts. We as a SMT will have a retreat and we will build out that document that we started this whole journey with, which is this guy. We will build this out and obviously bring this back to council so that you know what our operational plans are and even potential council support for those goals. Well done, folks. Give yourselves a hand.
Thank you, everybody. One question. Since I'm surprised we filled up all this time, but in the interest, because that felt very intense, hurried, is if staff has any recommendations or suggestions based on what you've heard here for wordsmithing at all to either make something more concise, keep the same flavor. I would be open to suggestion just because that gives more time to think on it. What do you think, Rachel?
Yeah, I really like that idea also.
We would be happy to do as directed by council, if that sounds good. If we come up with something absolutely brilliant, we'll show you what we did. So, okay, we'll look forward to coming back with a clear work plan for council. And
All right. All right. Thank
thanks,
you, everybody.
everybody.
All right. It is 6 p.m. Monday, May 11th. We will begin our regular city council meeting. Call that to order, and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There we go. City Clerk, if you could take roll call, please.
Counselor Kelly Berger.
Here.
Counselor Pete Temslin.
Here.
Mayor Rachel Anderson.
Present.
Counselor Brandon Janice. Counselor Harmony Rudder.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nicole Hartman.
Here.
And is there a motion to excuse Counselor Butler for family and travel?
Second.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that is approved unanimously. All righty. Sorry, still trying to get a little bit situated here. All right, there we go. Is there a motion to approve the final agenda as presented?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, that is approved. We will move on to ceremonial. Today we have a proclamation for Arbor Day. All right. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day serves as a reminder of our shared responsibility to be good stewards of the environment and to protect natural resources for future generations. And whereas trees help reduce soil erosion, improve air quality, conserve energy, moderate temperatures, produce oxygen, and provide critical habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource that provides paper, wood for homes, fuel, and countless other products essential to our daily lives. And whereas the city of Sequim has been recognized as a Tree City USA community by the Arbor Day Foundation for its ongoing commitment to effective urban forest management, tree care, and community engagement. And whereas trees in the city of Sequim increase property values, strengthen economic vitality, contribute to the character and beauty of our community, and promote the health and well-being of residents. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy, environmental resilience, and community pride. Now, therefore, I, Rachel Anderson, Mayor of the City of Sequim, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2026 as National Arbor Day in the City of Sequim and urge all residents to commemorate this day and support efforts to protect, plant, and care for trees throughout our community. And I further urge residents to plant trees to gladden the heart, improve our environment, and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Signed on this 11th day of May, 2026. And I don't believe we have anybody here tonight to accept the proclamation. Are there any comments from council?
I hope that for many years to come, I've heard when I came to this community, I had the great privilege and honor to take the Master Gardener training with Wazoo Extension. And I have heard many of the people that I've met and through that program say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. And I know that trees do so much for our planet to help it be a resilient and beautiful place to live. I am very grateful that we have so many very old heritage trees still growing here in the Dungeon Squim area, such as our Gary Oaks, especially in the new park in Ruth C. McCord Memorial Park, and the ones that are doing their very best year by year to grow larger and larger by the reclamation, water use reclamation park. So here's to this Arbor Day and many more to come.
Any other comments? Okay. I just have a quick note. On April 24th, I believe it was, a bunch of Public Works employees and I was there, and members from the community were there. City manager was there. I'm trying to remember if there was anybody else there. But there was a large group of us, and we planted a bunch of trees by the reuse pond, and we just had a really great time. And it's been an ongoing tradition, I believe, for 10 years now, if I'm remembering that correctly. But yeah, it's always a great time. So when we do it next year, highly recommend if you're able to make it. It's always a really enjoyable time. Thank you. And we will move on to public comment. This is a limited public forum. Individuals providing public comment must not disrupt or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of the meeting. This is not a forum for hate speech. The City of Sequim supports the public's First Amendment right to free speech, but it does not support hate speech. Speakers are expected to be courteous and refrain from making hateful comments, sounds, or remarks. Any offensive words and conduct shared by the public do not reflect the city's values. The City of Sequim stands firm in its commitment to being an inclusive community and rejects discrimination of any kind.
For persons registered and approved to provide comments remotely, please raise your hand. Please press the raise your hand icon, or if you are on the phone, press *5 to raise your hand and wait for automated prompts. There are no one has signed up for in-person comment this evening, and we do have one person remotely. So let's see. Mr. Worthington, you can unmute your microphone and address the council.
John Worthington, Sequim. Sustainability can't be had if you don't start with the basics. 72% of the leafy greens that we could grow here, we don't. And there's never going to be a formula that requires us to grow that 72%. We'll have all the regulations ratcheted up to where nobody can do anything, and then everything comes by ship and truck. That's Washington State right there. That's what sustainability means in Washington State. That's not going to be sustainable. Instead of charging people lane miles or nautical miles for products that have to travel to get to us, we don't do that. We let them pollute for free, especially since you're over at the NODC, where you've contractually agreed to help build capacity for other countries, third world countries. You're contractually obligated to do ICLEI baseline activities over there. So we can talk about climate change and sustainability. Doesn't really matter what category you put it in until you're willing to punish or highlight your local production to where you're growing those 72% leafy greens that can actually grow here, and then exporting in only that amount that you can't grow. That's the sustainable formula, but that's not going to put money in the pockets of George Soros and help him spread it around to keep getting these prosecutors and all these other folks elected. Then there's the Bell Creek fiasco, where all of a sudden it's a big deal to try to get 4%, 3%, 4% spawning grade for salmon and silvers and kings. And everybody's up in arms, I guess, because we want it to go to Johnson Creek, which is a 20% grade, 20 to 25% past where they're at. So there's no chance of any salmon spawning whatsoever on that project. But yet that's where all of our attention went. And chum, they only spawn down at the bottom of the mouth. So we just spent $147 million countywide on 6 culvert projects. None of them helped with salmon spawning. And the public process was just non-existent, or they wouldn't respond. They could have just said, no, you're right, Mr. Worthington. Salmon don't spawn at 20, 25% grade. We better go to Bell Creek and all these other places like Tumwater Creek and put our processes in there so we can get more than just a couple silvers and kings. Thank you.
And that concludes public comment.
Thank you for providing public comment today. We have no public hearing tonight. So up next is the consent agenda. City Clerk, could you please read the consent agenda items?
Items on tonight's consent agenda: claim vouchers totaling $957,276.72. City Council meeting minutes for April 27th, 2026. The East Washington Active Transportation Expansion, a local agency agreement. And the Silberhorn Deep Well number 4, a recommendation to award the contract.
Excellent. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, we will move forward with unanimous consent for that. Up next is general business. Sue, our finance director, with the Q1 2026 financial report.
Good evening, council and community. Sue Hagener, your finance director for the record. In your packet tonight, you have our Q1 2026 financial reports, which provides the financial performance results for the very first 3 months of the year. I will remind you that there are 12 months in a year, and 3 months isn't a lot of time for, the water to flow under the bridge, if you will. So any single one large event, like a large payment or a large contract, or can have a significant impact on such a short period of time for financial performance. So what I'm trying to get across here is that we've got, if there were any concerning trends, and I saw a few things that concerned me, which I brought up to you in the write-ups. Any concerning trends, we've got 9 more months to pivot, right? We have 9 more months to see if the trends change, if the trends change or something else happens to move us in a different direction. And I'll name a couple of those things for you. So one of the first things that I wanted to make sure you're aware of is that the first 3 months of the year, we have a lot of cash outflows. We have lots of annual subscriptions, whether they be information technology subscriptions. A lot of membership subscriptions have to be paid in January, February for the rest of the year. We have almost $1 million assessment from our insurance pool, WCIA. So there's a lot of really big expense events that happen in the first quarter. And, as I've mentioned before, one of the reasons why we have a fund balance policy is because our expenses are cyclical and seasonal, and our revenues are cyclical and seasonal. And so things can kind of go up and down, and we want to make sure that we've got enough fund balance to withstand those fluctuations. So we started off the year, I mentioned, with a fund balance that was considerably lower than what we budgeted. It was about $670,000 less than what we budgeted to start the year. And I just want to remind you that we started preparing the budget for this year in June and July of last year. And that was way ahead of our year-end budget amendment, which used, we were doing so well at the end of the year in our general fund balance that we decided, let's use some excess money to put into our important capital projects like the shop improvements, as well as into our equipment reserve, which we wanted to make some additional purchases that we couldn't afford it, that we didn't have enough room for. And third, our street operation fund was struggling, and we needed to infuse some more cash into our street operations fund to support its compliance with fund balance policy. So we started the year a lot lower than we thought, but that's because we did a year-end budget amendment after this budget was developed. Does that make sense? So there was just some timing movements in here, and that's not something that that concerned me. In the general fund, we had fantastic, our taxes were above budget. Property tax, sales tax, utility tax was right there, but it tends to be a very stable tax. No concerns on taxes. No concerns really on intergovernmental revenues. The only concern that I cited in the write-up was we've seen almost no permitting and development activity since the fourth quarter of 2025 and the first quarter of 2026. Well, and I've said this over and over again that development revenues are really, really difficult to predict. But one of the reasons why I'm going to take a little bit longer here tonight is to tell you that there's news in the wind that is about to change, because our permitting staff over the last couple of weeks have been very, very busy creating invoices for those permits. And once they get paid, that means cash is coming in. So I'm feeling really positive about what I've heard from Carla, the DCED director, in terms of the activity that she's seeing her folks processing up in the a permit department. And of course, these are your first 3 months of the year. We've had a month and a half of since the close of these books. And so that was recent news that I just wanted to share with you. So I'm hoping by the time we get through second quarter that we'll see the benefits of some of that activity. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is all of our expenses were under budget, which is great, right? With the exception of intergovernmental expenses, and that's expenses between governments, and that's related to the criminal justice contract with Clallam County that was negotiated way after this budget was ever approved at the very last minute in 2026. We'll probably have to do a budget amendment for that at some time this year, but it's explainable. We know what we're talking about. We know what it is. We know we may have to pivot with a budget amendment by the end of the year. Now, the other little bit piece of alarming news that I shared with all of you in the write-ups is that for the first time, I think in my experience here, our general fund balance was below policy. I was at 90% of the minimum of policy. So a pretty freaked out. I did freak out. I was in Matt's office freaking out. And then I thought, no, actually, this is kind of what first quarter is all about, right? And so I just wanted to report to you. So after I took a deep breath, had a few, 3 o'clock in the morning moments, I realized, well, of course, we haven't received some of our biggest property tax payments, which happen in April and May. And sure enough, just today, we got $715,000 in property taxes from Clallam County. And bingo, our fund balance is back in compliance with policy. So it's sort of fixed itself, I don't know, without having to do anything. So that's good. So anyway, I just wanted to share that good news. And again, it's just the first 3 months of the year. We've got time to pivot. And as you know, I would always bring to you anything that I would find a concerning trend. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions. Equipment reserve is healthy. Sewer is super healthy. Water's fund balance looks a little wonky, but I have a feeling that that's going to self-correct as well by second quarter. The other last kind of wonky thing that I'll just talk about, but I also anticipate will correct itself over time, is the hotel motel. We get we get entity specific data from the Department of Revenue that's not disclosable to you, but it's for certain folks that have signed certain agreements with the Department of Revenue. But we've been assessing that data on a hotel by hotel basis. And we know when someone hasn't reported, and we know when somebody is behind in their reporting. And so that's what it appears to be. Again, I have a strong suspicion that I will be reporting we're A-okay at the end of the second quarter. So anyway, any questions for any of you about any of the materials that I provided?
No, I don't have any questions, just that the comment of Q1 can always look very scary.
It is. I mean, everything it gets wonky, but it's just such a short period of time. Just one little thing can happen. It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So
definitely looking forward to Q2 and 3.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Sue? No? Okay. Thank you. All right. Up next is item number 10, information only, a sustainability committee update from Megan.
Excuse me, fellow counselors. I'm just going to take this moment to go freshen up, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Looks like we got it. I don't know if I should wait for everyone to come back, or I guess I'll just start. Harmony knows who I am, but for the record, I'm Megan Euchre. I am the resource analyst for the Public Works Department, and I'm also the Sustainability Committee liaison, I guess, in this respect. And I'm here to present this sustainability report for you tonight from the SQUIM on behalf of the SQUIM Sustainability Committee. Actually, my PowerPoint is not happy camper. It's like, there's nothing. There's nothing there. Hold on, everyone.
When we have difficulties like this, it's hard to decide if we move on to the next thing real quick because I don't know how quickly it'll pop right back up. Mhm. Okay.
All right. Technical difficulties averted.
Thank you for your patience, everybody.
Okay, so again, I'm Megan here on behalf of the SQUIM Sustainability Committee. So here we go. So I wanted to just, for folks who maybe haven't seen this before, any counselors, and to remind you what prior councils had passed, a couple of resolutions for the city that sort of address the question, what does sustainability mean for the city? And so you can read these full resolutions that are, of course, still linked on our website. But in 2012, there was basically a greenhouse gas emission reduction policy, and that addressed things like, or encouraged actions like reducing vehicle miles traveled by city vehicles, overall energy consumption, and also purchasing and printing emissions, as just to name a few things that could reduce the city's greenhouse gas emissions. And then in 2016, a resolution to support sustainability and resiliency at large there address things like infrastructure resiliency, climate preparedness, and comprehensive planning. And so out of those resolutions was born a Sustainable SQUIM initiative, which has a web page that I will encourage you to go look at. And then we formed an internal sustainability committee. At this point, internal, served by team members from the city manager's office, communications department, and public works. And our major activity is to kind of develop an annual action plan of sustainability actions, sustainability and resiliency actions that we can achieve, and then track those so that we know what we've done, where we're going, and then and also track ongoing actions. And then we also create a sustainability tip in the newsletter, in the monthly newsletter, and then sort of spread that even further through social media posts. So I'm going to go through the Sustainability Committee. When it was formed, they developed just kind of a brainstormed a large list of actions that fall out in different categories that the city has some interaction with. So that's what you'll see at the top there. And I'm going to highlight a few things that we've achieved this year or that are ongoing that sort of meet our goals. So we, over a couple of our city buildings, including our reclamation facility and civic center and the shop, we did a few different sort of HVAC improvements and other things in which we were also able to obtain some rebates from Clallam County PUD, and that reduced our energy use in those buildings. Guy Cole was another one. So Guy Cole, yeah, WRF, and the city shop all got some HVAC improvements, better controls, and things like that. So that is excellent. And then probably most of you are familiar that we have this solar array that was built back in 2017, I believe, while ago. And on an ongoing basis, it produces about 58,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, which is approximately 16% of the Civic Center's annual energy needs. So pretty great. So in our water and wastewater systems, really big win this year was installing these 3,100 radio readers on all of the water meters in the city. So first of all, that's just a great gain for our staff, reducing cars driving around, and 3 staff members, I think 3, calculated this by 3 staff, 3 full days, 3 days a month or something like that, going out and reading water meters. So that's excellent news. And then it also provides immediate leak detection. And I don't know if the water crew has been in here to talk to you about it. Hopefully they have, but they're kind of setting up parameters where they can identify what is a lot of water use and what's an actual leak. And so they'll be able to use that to reduce water loss and help customers and the city save money from any inadvertent water leaks. And of course, reduce our water use in that way. So that's a really big win. And then we've also, capital projects, replaced some manholes, which reduces inflow of stormwater into the wastewater system, so we don't have to treat stormwater. Instead, it can infiltrate as it should. All right, more news on water resources. This was pretty huge in that, so that's our utility rate table that you might be familiar with. You'll see kind of 3 tiers, 1 to 600 cubic feet, and then that top tier, 1,600 plus cubic feet. In the commercial section, we actually didn't have, we weren't charging them anything. So those are really big users. Those are your, big box stores or other large entities. Well, now they have a rate charged to them, so that should incentivize them to reduce their water use, hopefully significantly, since they were just kind of hanging out in that second tier plus. So that's a really big win as well, to reduce unnecessary water use and hopefully see those gains as we go on. We're always promoting water conservation. We think it's a great idea, and we try to provide tips in newsletters and in our utility bills. And I even noticed one of our utility billers has this great sort of in her email signature, it says something like, this is how much a leak, how many gallons, this size of a leak, is costing you, essentially, sort of in her communications with the public and utility users. So all sorts of ways that we try to promote water conservation to our customers. And then, of course, we're using reclaimed water, wastewater that is used to irrigate as many city facilities as we can get it to, including, of course, water reuse site or park, the soccer fields, Carrie Blake Park, road medians, and hanging baskets. All right, so probably seen these. We have a new city parking lot behind the Civic Center, and there's 4 plugs there, 2 chargers. And so we're using those for fleet that has, EV charging capacity. And if you are a staff member that has an EV car, you can actually use that at a rate, at a kilowatt cents, 34 cents per kilowatt, same as our public chargers that are over at the PUD lot on Govan Street. So that's that second bullet point. So ongoing public use of the city's two EV chargers saved 987 gallons of fuel, a lot of CO2 equivalent to 411 propane barbecue tanks, as hopefully a visual. And then we used to provide the ones on GoVan at a free, first 3 hours free, sort of subsidizing EV use, and we updated the rate structure, so we're paying for every, folks that use those are paying for every kilowatt hour. Use does not seem to be declining, but we'll kind of look at that over time, but it's actually helping to make sure that this investment sort of breaks even, that we're not subsidizing, essentially someone else's fuel. And then efficient transportation. Of course, we are in support and trying to make it easier to get around the city multimodally, pedestrian and bike, scooters, wheelchairs, things like that, so that people will walk and roll and don't have to always be relying on cars. So we've retrofitted 62 curb ramps in 2025. Of course, that's ongoing right now, as you know, so we'll report on that next year. And then those curb ramp projects also helped improve stormwater infiltration. We had a lot of puddling water and things that wasn't working well, so we were able to improve that, which is great. And then we've implemented the first part of a two-part signal timing project. The next one's going to be happening later this year, but that shortened the wait times at our signals by 10 to 20 seconds per red light, reducing idle time and associated emissions. Matt was asking me for some sort of a calculation on that. It was a little more difficult than I had time for. Kind of depends on your car and a lot of other things, but essentially, yeah, we're making gains for the consumer and for our air quality. And then another big effort by the Sustainability Committee is that we really helped draft and develop the climate and resilience chapter of our draft comprehensive plan. And so, that was great. There's a lot of recommendations and actions in there that we'll continue to look at and move forward. And it was really also a spinoff of our hazard mitigation plan that we also worked on. So all of that's tied into keeping Sequim a livable city. Yep, great. And then climate-friendly purchasing. So it was really exciting that the Sunshine Festival events team reached out to the Sustainability Committee and asked for partnership. How can we bring make our events a little more sustainable? So these are 3 things that we implemented last year. Reusable decor, which is great, that we used again in 26. It just helps, from all that, how it is, throw a party and a lot of disposables. So anything less is a win. And then really fun, we partnered with Clallam Transit, who, as you know, is now just doing sort of an interlink, or if you don't know, here's a hot tip. They're doing an interlink service, which you can basically call them, it's like a free Uber. So they'll go anywhere in the city and pick you up and take you to where you need to go. And they've got room for like a couple of rolling machines. So if you had a wheelchair and a stroller and a couple of adults and kids you needed to go, you could all get into their vans and get where you need to go. And they were happy to report that their ridership that weekend really increased. And we made this cute little, promo ad to try to promote that. And we also did that this year. So, and then our can and bottle recycling. I've seen a lot of events, it's great. People try to do recycling, but we had made sure we had, for every garbage can, there was a recycling bin. And I don't know if you can see, but that is a beautiful load of recycling right there. It's just cans and bottles, just no other waste. And that was really a lot thanks to our events team like Gary there. That's just also to help, making sure things are going well. So we're excited about that. Okay, more things. You probably heard a little bit about this, but Waste Connections, our waste and recycling provider, approached us about this cool grant they got to install at the top of that blue truck a camera. It's an AI camera that would take these kind of pictures. Maybe one of you got one of these in the mail. If you did, you were doing bad recycling. That's okay, because it was really just trying to help you learn about what does go into your bin. So the camera would take this picture, and you see there, they kind of circled like the garbage bag. You don't want to bag your recycling. You want to put it in there loose, because the bag it gets all clogged up in the sorting machinery. So this gave people, personalized feedback, kind of generated a little mailer to their doorstep and said, here's what you did wrong. And you could look at that and say, oh yeah, I do remember that garbage bag. Anyway, that helped for the pilot reduce contamination, which is basically incorrect recycling, by 11% in SQUIM. So it was a great gain and a great chance to, really help people understand how to recycle right. And then our art coordinator, and it really supports a lot of waste reduction and recycling in arts. And of course, hopefully you guys know about and have gone to our lovely Trash and Show. And that's part of the SQUIM Irrigation Festival. But our arts coordinator hosted 2 different trash and art workshops, and really helping to explore, how can you reuse materials for something that you could use? Some of this stuff is highly wearable, quite cool. And then she continued that theme by hosting like textile reuse and sustainability themed display out in the art gallery, and sort of some education around, the challenge of textiles in our society. Oh, we kept going. So we now, by state law, have to track our compost purchasing. It's got a compost procurement ordinance that you all passed a few years ago, but again, part of state law. And so through that, we tracked and saw that we diverted, just the city, 68 tons of green waste to local facilities for composting. So that's not including the yard waste, at the curbside that other residents do. So that's what we did. And then we purchased 18 tons of compost blend for city landscaping. So trying to make that a circular economy, you could say. And then we had a fun little pilot project, because one of our temp staff had some pigs. And so we fed the pigs all summer, and shout out to the park staff. I think they really brought maybe brought some of their waste from home. And so I'm estimating about 100 gallons, hard to know, but it was pretty good. And then we are, recognized as a tree city, but we got a second designation this year, or in 2025, as an evergreen community. And that's a recognition from the Department of Natural Resources. It's a lot the same. It means that we take care of our trees. We have a tree inventory, which we have a partial tree inventory that our streets crew works on. And, that we actually devote some of our budget towards maintaining our street trees, which we do. So it means a lot, and we got that recognition. It also actually helps us with our RCO grants. So I wouldn't say it's a forced recognition or application. We did it voluntarily, but it's a really good idea, and it helps us with our grants. But so now we are, we're doubly friends of trees. All right, so that's kind of what I have for you tonight. And I'm happy to entertain questions, ideas, thoughts. I had a question about during the Irrigation Festival parade. I was stuck at the registration desk all day, so I don't see along the parade route, but are there recycle bins along the parade route? Great question. I do not know. I mean, we do have some public recycling, let's see. The closest is probably there's 2. There's the one here on Cedar, and then there's the one in front of the bathroom. So, some folks could use that. Otherwise, we don't have a lot of public recycling. I don't know what event organizers have, but I'll just say that for our Sunshine Fest in 2026, we got an awesome donation from Waste Connections, our recycling contractor. They donated 10 of the sort of Clearstream bins, they're called, and they're basically like collapsible metal frames that we then can provide the clear bags, and that people are fairly familiar with recycling. It has a top that just has holes, so it's not that one. That one's cute, but it's a little harder to move around. But these are like basically meant for public event recycling because they're kind of easy to use. So we would encourage any event folks to reach out to us and talk to us about how to increase recycling at their events. But it's a challenge. You got to have staff that's going to go around and pick that up and take it a different place. I don't know where their garbage even, where they set garbage cans up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll get in touch with you about that.
Yeah.
And Harmony.
I had a couple questions and thoughts that came up during your presentation. First, thank you so much, Megan, for your excellent presentation. It's very, brings a lot of pride to hear about all of the awesome things that our city is doing to be a good steward. What is the expected lifespan of the solar panels on top of City Hall?
That is a great question. That might be in my files, but I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, I don't know. So
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
look it up and I'll follow up with you.
Great, sounds good. I had a thought about the median. Is the grass, so first question, this is a two-part question. Is the grass along Squim Avenue in the median, that is also included in the, when you said that it's being irrigated by reclaimed water, that section is also irrigated by reclaimed water?
Yep.
So then I'm wondering if potentially, this is a suggestion, that we add some signage to the median grass area there along Squim Avenue to not only do some community education and awareness about it, and also to it's a community education and awareness, but also a reassurance to the public when they see the water running along the sidewalk, because that is a very difficult space to irrigate efficiently and not have any runoff. That is water that is not affecting the city's ability to provide potable water to its residents.
Yeah.
So I think it's be a really important thing to look at and contemplate.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned, as you were going along, you talked about how Interlink serves the whole city. I really hope that's the case, because the last time I looked it up, it didn't go to exactly all edges of the city limits. So I hope that in the future, or if it hasn't already, that it will be serving the whole of City of Squim. If anyone has, I heard you say, sounds like you have something to add to that, Mayor.
Working on it. So I'm one of the board members for Clallam Transit, and we just did a huge project. Operations did a huge project, finally implementing the like a huge change in the route system and adding a couple new routes in Port Angeles. So I had brought up like, hey, since we have finally finished and implemented this Port Angeles project, can we please start working on Squim and expanding, because they don't go to everywhere in city limits, and it's really like, I live at Elk Creek Apartments, and there's a lot of people at Elk Creek that could use that, but they don't go there, or a lot of people that live in Emerald Heights or Bell Hill that need access to that, but they don't have access to that because it's south of Highway 101. So that's one of my trying really hard to advocate for expanding that system.
Great. Well, thank you for letting me know, because obviously my understanding was wrong. So that's really great. So is it south of the highway, but also south of Washington?
South of the highway for sure, but then there's also, I think it only goes as far east as, I want to say Blake Avenue. I'm pretty sure that's right. So like it wouldn't pick up people at Elk Creek. It wouldn't pick up people, past the daycare out on, that road out there.
Rodiford.
Thank you. Squim Bay.
Squim Bay.
And then I'm not sure how far west or north it goes. I just know for sure like those two directions.
Well, thank you for advocating on that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm intimately familiar because I have tried to use it, and I live south of 101. So thank you.
I just had one more question
Mhm.
about when did that third tier of water usage go into place?
I think that was this year. I want to say when we, like when the rest of the water rates were
okay.
adopted.
Okay,
Is
so it'll
my
be
recollection.
interesting to see next year then what savings might have manifested.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Water savings and then, yeah. Additional revenue.
Any other questions? Not seeing
Okay.
any. Thank you so much, Megan.
Yes, thanks for having me. You guys know where I am. I mean, I guess I didn't put my contact, but you know where I am. It's on that sustainability webpage, I believe. So get a hold of me if you have ideas.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next up is item number 11, reports, and we will go to Lily with the Youth Liaison report.
For the purposes of the record, this is Lily Chemslin, Youth Liaison. So to start, we have spring sports going on. They're kind of coming to postseason, which is the end of them. We have softball, baseball, tennis, and track all entering league and districts, and then hopefully state. Our operetta club, we had 2 weeks of wonderful performances for The Wizard of Oz and a really big turnout on closing night, which was really lovely to see. We're starting ticket sales for senior night. And then we are also having senior ball this Friday, which is really exciting. Class elections are also this week, so we have a lot going on, and then AP testing as well. So it's just a busy time at Swim High School. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Any questions? No. All right. City manager report up next.
Thank you. Makes me glad that I'm not still in high school. I remember those days. Thank you, Mayor and council members. A few highlights from my city manager report, although I did want to report back to you, Nicole, that the legislators created a energy mandate or whatever, and we actually for our any buildings that are a certain size. This is the only one in our city that qualified for that, and so we can get back to that. We already met that requirement by recently. Matt Shackelford recently did that. I just wish I could pull some of those numbers out, but it included how many hours of energy we save because of our ceiling, our roof. Whatever, yeah, energy panels. So I'll get back to you for sure on that. It was impressive. All right, so a couple of things I wanted to mention. I'm of course very pleased to report. I think I sent you an email about Chris Goins accepting the position as Public Works Director. He'll be here on June 8th, so less than a month away, and plans on coming down one time in May before he starts. So hopefully he'll have a chance to make some rounds and maybe meet you. Christy Nutter starts tomorrow. She is the admin director for the city manager office and SMT. So eager to kind of get to know her and have her join the team. As you know, several of you joined in the Irrigation Festival, and particularly the City of Sequim's entry with our big trucks and Sunshine Festival promotion campaign. We received the Chairman's Award for that entry, and I did want to express thanks to all of you that joined into that. Community development continues to work on Flora Acres annexation. I think I'll be in front of you at your next meeting, as well as working with several new housing developments. Those are picking back up, which surprised us all, but a lot of renewed activity in the planning department, as well as some new businesses coming. So she's been busy with that. We have 8 openings in our HR department, and I'm pleased to report that our police department passed its FBI CGIS. It's basically an IT audit every 3 years, and passed without any recommendations or concerns there. So Speaking of the police department, they're in their second rounds of deputy chief testing, as well as holding some sergeant and officer interviews as well in testing. You probably saw the police lobby display, and because of Police Week. So a lot of work went into that. Anyway, Public Works continues to work on the ADA ramp projects. We got about 3/4 of the ramps poured at this point, and the rest will be done, I think, this week. The consultants for the transportation and sewer plans have submitted their final reports to Carla in the planning department. And so hopefully those will be integrated into the comp plan, Sue, and that moves that along as well. Paul also was able to work with the gardening club at the Pioneer Park, and we will be working with them. They got a state grant, and then we have some other impact fees that we're going to help them do an ADA path all around the perimeter of Pioneer Park. So that will be another nice thing for the city. Other than that, I'm really here just to answer any questions. I appreciate your retreat, being able to watch and listen, and eager to kind of fine tune that with you as we go. Questions?
More of just a comment. I'm looking forward to the new public works hire, particularly his background working with the highways up in Alaska. I think hopefully he'll be a good fit working with SIMDARS and trying to get that moved forward as well. So he'll bring some insights on getting that moving.
I agree. 3 years in Alaska for the Department of Transportation, highways, ferry terminals, airports. He knows DOT. Should be really helpful.
Just a quick comment. Really excited about the ADA path in Pioneer Park. I had my first birthday in that building. And so even though it's 35 years later, progress is progress. So it's really exciting.
Good. We kind of did some reach out there. So they got a grant, the gardening club over there got a grant, and it included engineering and some other things in it. When we heard about it and they talked to the city about it, they really were not used to any grant administration and didn't have the capacity to manage a state grant. So we reached out to them, told them we would be happy to help them and partner with that grant, and we could probably do a lot of the engineering internally and save them a lot of money, which we did. And then we were able to apply the savings to the second half of the park. So it was only going to be one side, and then they were going to look for another grant. But because of our savings by bringing some of that work inside, we were able to apply the remainder to the other side and add a little impact fees to make the whole park done at once. Yeah, it's nice.
And I really appreciate the ongoing efforts toward partnering with so many different organizations throughout the area. Is so, when we work together, everybody wins, right? And so I'm just really thankful for that.
I know for years we've tried to connect them to our sewer, and it's quite the pathway to get there. But this may help. This project may help you get towards there, because it's back in the southeast corner where it'd be connected.
Okay, that hasn't come up, but I will certainly bring that up tomorrow. So that's good to know.
It'd be a really good thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
Pete, does that mean that right now the clubhouse is on its own? Is that what you're saying, that the clubhouse uses its own septic system?
I am.
Okay. And so I can see what you're saying. Interesting. Food for thought. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments for the city manager? We will go ahead and move on to City Council committee reports. I just have a very quick one for Sister City. These dates aren't solidified, but we're hoping for a student ambassador exchange program info night. That is quite a mouthful. Sometime last week of May, hoping to open applications for said program also the end of May, and then looking at interviewing candidates and selecting candidates, selecting student ambassadors for the program for a summer 2027 trip to Shiso, Japan. So fingers crossed, all the timing works out and it's smooth. Fingers crossed. That's all I have. Anything else for committee updates or reports, rather? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to open council discussion. Is there anything anybody would like to bring up for open council discussion?
I do if nobody else has anything. I just thought of it only because Nicole brought it up when Megan was giving a report on recycling bins. So the first question, Matt, when are you kicking off next year's budget?
There's a series of, it starts in June with some of the FTE numbers and some of the capital improvements. And we have a whole timeline if you'd like to see it, but it takes about 3 or 4 months to sequentially bring all the components together. I think Sue mentioned today that she tries to get it done by end of August so she can submit it to you all in September.
Okay, so I only asked only because I still want to see the People's Project get brought back, and that's what made me think of it again, because that's one of the projects that was chosen, the recycling bins. And I would think that if the council were to agree to bring that program back, the sooner the better. So that way it would be able to get into, say, next year's budget.
People's Project Recycling, is that what
Well, no, that was just one of the projects. I think that was like the first one that was chosen, or maybe the second, yeah. But to get it into the budget sooner rather than later, obviously, when you're in the middle of the budget cycle.
Okay. So it sounds like members of the senior management team know what that is. It was kind of pre-me.
Yeah, that was in the before COVID times.
Yeah.
Sorry, council, if I could ask a clarification, just because Matt wasn't here when we did that. I believe the proposed budget when we did the People's Project back then, I think was $150,000. Is council still thinking of using that same number, or should it be in relation to what Sue thinks is fiscally responsible?
I'm sure it'd be somewhere along those lines. Obviously, it'd be another discussion for council, obviously, when Dan was here. But that was just, like I said, I would like to see it come back, depending on what obviously council agrees to as well, if they are receptive of that. So that'd be another discussion. Maybe if Sue wanted to come back with what maybe thoughts on another day.
I suspect that'll need to be what happens, because we can't just put it in there absent a dollar threshold or concept from the council, right? And because depending on where she is in the budget, she may have to rebalance that and see where we are. So I think Matt already said we can talk about it in SMT tomorrow, and we'll just let her know that at some point council wants to have her come back when there's a full council to discuss it. Okay.
It'd be nice to have a refresher on what it is for those of us who weren't here then.
Right.
I was just going to say I'd like to learn more about what this People's Project is all about. Thank you.
So if you talk to SMT about it tomorrow, can we bring an update from that meeting to the next agenda planning?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, senior management team, there's many members of them that were here in those days. And so it will be easy for them to at least lead a discussion with you all on what it was and get some input from you on what you might want it to be, if anything. So, yeah, easy to do.
I think we did look at that one time. And what we found out was who was going to pick up the recycled material and where it was going to go. And that was the biggest issue.
Oh, okay. Like that was a barrier.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Will do.
Good to know. All right. Anything
Thank
else?
you. I just wanted to say thank you, Councilor Janice, for keeping something going on council is always is just so important to have that continuity. So I appreciate your long service to the community and our council, and being and bringing that council history forward. I'd love to learn more about what the People's Project is about, and I appreciate all this discussion about it.
I think, community engagement's important, and that's why I like to bring it back. And just quickly, basically what it was is there was, a pot of money, and the community put forth a bunch of ideas that they would like to see, which, the water fountains or the recycling bins. And then that list was given to, I think, Public Works to see if it was viable or not, and fell within the cost brackets. And then those that did, the community voted on. And then the one that got the most votes, obviously, was done. So basically, that's what the program is.
The one that got done being the trash and recycling bins?
And the water fountains are like in the parks.
Oh, the ones that have the water bottle refill station.
And the little dog one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think we did 2 before COVID hit and everything.
Okay, thank you. That helps me leave this meeting with a little bit more concrete idea of what exactly the People's Project was. I look forward to learning even more about it and continuing this discussion.
All right. Anything else for open council discussion?
And while you're doing that, Matt, fix those bills too in the budget for Christmas.
Oh, the decor, that they hang on the streetlights. They are looking pretty sad, if I'm saying it friendly. Friendly suggestion. Okay. If there is nothing else for open council discussion. All right, moving on to planning, we have the agenda planning meeting Wednesday, May 20th. I'll be there. Nicole will be there. One open seat. If you're able to attend, just email Heather. Sorry, email city clerk. Pete says he's available. Okay, Pete's available. I'm taking him up on his offer. And then the regular city council meeting Monday, the 25th, is Memorial Day. So we cannot have a council meeting that day. So the next regular city council meeting will be Tuesday, May 26th. Just double checking everybody has it in their calendar. Because if you show up on Monday, nobody will be here. All right. 6 o'clock, yes. Okay. And that is it for this agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn this meeting at 7:06 p.m.
Second.
And any opposed? It is approved unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.